This is Nizam. I'm working one of the toppest MNC company, and also I have around 6+ years of experience in data warehousing. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to load the data from AWS to Snowflake. This is the agenda which I'm going to cover in these videos. How to upload the data in S3 service, how to create the external stage in Snowflake, how to create the storage integration, how to make the link between Snowflake and AWS account, how to directly querying the stage, how to create the file formats, how to use the copy command. Before moving into the AWS load, we should know how to Snowflake processing the data flow. Snowflake following two ways of file loading mechanism. We cannot directly load the file from any cloud to Snowflake table. It is not possible. So what we need to do? We should load the data from cloud to Snowflake stage itself only. We have the one more object is called as a stage. The first thing we need to load from our cloud to staging environment. After the stage, we have to load it in our Snowflake table. This is how Snowflake data loading is performed. In this stage has two types in Snowflake. One is internal stage, another one is external stage. If we are loading the data from local drive to Snowflake, in this case, we should use the internal stage. If we are loading the data from any cloud to Snowflake, we should use in this case for external stage. I have classified for each steps in this process. Let's start our practicals. First is step number 1. So the step number 1 is how to upload the data in our S3 service. If you want to load the data from AWS, you should create the AWS free trial account with using your information. I will show how AWS account looks like. Once after you created your AWS account, this is how your home page looks like. Here you can see there is a service button. Here there is a all services. In our AWS account has many services like EC2, Redshift, S3. Like this we have 100+ services available in our AWS account. If you want, you can start learning AWS as well. Using this trial account is fine. For our case, loading the data from AWS to Snowflake, it's required only 2 services. We will go one by one. First step, you need to create the AWS account and load the data in our AWS account. So from where we can load the data in our AWS account, there is a one service is called the S3. So what it mean by the S3? S3 means simple storage service. There is a 3 S's are combined together, right? So that's what actually they are calling as a S3. Now you need to go over AWS account and load the file. In here, types S3, select the S3. These are all my previous S3 buckets. You don't consider these things. I just going to create the new bucket. Here you need to give your own name, which is globally unique. So it should not be comes with the duplicates. So I'm just given to here KSR 1504. This is what my bucket name. Here you need to remove this check mark because it is mean by AWS is blocking the public application to access this S3 bucket. Our Snowflake is public. So we need to remove this check mark in here. Then only Snowflake can directly access this S3 bucket. Here you need to do the acknowledge. Now you can see the name is already existed. So it is a globally unique. So we need to give for the unique name. I'm just trying with here itself also. So the bucket got created. So this is for my bucket. You can just open this bucket. After creating the bucket, you can create the folder as well inside the bucket because in future we will receive the data from multiple source systems. So it is good for practice to creating the folder as well. Click this create folder, give the folder name. I'm just using for the CSV folder. Click this create folder. Just open your folder. Once you create the folder, now you can start uploading your files from our local environment. So now I'm going to preparing one of the flat file. So which means like a source file. I'm just opening in my notepad, start typing or start preparing some sample data. So this is for my data file. I'm just trying to save this file. Once you prepare your data, click Ctrl S for creating this file. So this is the location which I'm going to save my file. I'm saving this file with using the .csv extension because this file is a comma separated file. How I can tell? Because you can see there are some fields, right? In each field has separated by comma. That's what it is, a comma separated file. Then click save. Now your file is saved in your local. Now we will start uploading our file. Click upload. Click add file. Now the folder name is KSR. Here I have saved my file as a source file.csv. Just select. Click upload. So File has been uploaded successfully. So after uploading your file, first step is done. Now we'll move to the second step. So our file is ready in our AWS account. The file name is a source file. So now we need to load that source file from AWS to external stage. This is what for my external stage. From stage only we can load into our Snowflake tables. Okay, let's start creating the external stage. Because our data source is filed, because our source file is ready, then we want to load the source file in our external stage. Now we will start creating the external stage. So how to create the external stage in Snowflake? So stage is also one of the object. For object means we should use the create command for creating the object. So how can we have to create the stage? Create stage stage name. So stage name, I just give whatever the name you like, you can give. I just given to the AWS underscore STG. Without properties, it is also one of the internal stage. If you are adding the any properties, then only it is converted into the external stage. So what is those properties? First property is URL. Second property is storage integration. This is the two properties. What is URL? URL means where I kept my source file, that location is calling the URL. Our case, where we kept in our source file, we just kept it in our AWS S3 bucket. So now I am going to AWS S3 bucket. You just go and click in S3. Select your S3 bucket and select your folder. Here you can get it the folder location. Just copy and paste it in our Snowflake URL property, which is and coming under the external stage with using the single quote. Now the second one is storage integration. What is a storage integration? It is make a link between Snowflake and AWS account. So without integration, we cannot create this stage as well. So now we need to go for third step, which is storage integration creation. How to create the storage integration? So storage integration also one of the object. So how to create that object? So create storage integration. We need to give any integration name, AWS INTG, which I gave to my integration name. In this storage integration contains 5 different properties. So first one is type, second one is enabled, third one is storage provider, fourth one is storage allowed location, fifth one is storage AWS role ARN. This is the 5 properties. Now we will try to fill the values of these properties. First one is a type. Type is we need to give for external stage, which means this integration works for only external stage. Next one is enabled. We have to give in here true. Why? Because by default it is false only. We should manually enable it. Next one is storage provider. Storage provider is S3. So S3 is the AWS service which is storage provider for us. So S3 is the storage provider. So S3 is the AWS service which is storage provider for us. Next one is storage allowed location, which means where we kept our files in S3 bucket, that location we need to provide here. Already we take that location. I just use that one here. So this is what for my location. If you are using that location into here, you should maintain the bracket. Final one is storage AWS role ARN. So for this, we need to get a one of the ID from AWS account with using the IAM policy. Now we can move it into our AWS account. Here you need to select the IAM policy. Just click the select the IAM. IAM means identity and access management. Click the roles. Create your own roles. Here you need to select AWS account, which is the one of the option. It is allowing to third-party application. For our Snowflake is one of the third-party application, right? So we need to select for this AWS account option. Next, select the external ID. As of now, we just add some zeros on here. In future, we will get some ID from Snowflake, and that ID we need to put it into here. Click next. In here, it is a permission policies. We need to select for Amazon S3 full access. So you can select the first one because our role is accessing the S3 bucket. That role ID we need to give to the Snowflake account. Just click next. Here you can give the role name. I just click for the KSR role. Next, come below. You don't do anything here. You just create role. Finally, your role got created. Then you can copy the ARN from here and paste it into Snowflake integration property. You just copy in here. You just copy this ARN and go to the Snowflake. This is a field we need to provide that number. I just given to that number in here. Then the integration got completed. Now I'm going to create this integration in my Snowflake environment. This is for my Snowflake environment. I just paste in my integration here. Just start running. So our integration got created successfully. Now we connected the AWS account to Snowflake account, but we need to do few more steps for connecting the from Snowflake account to AWS account. How can we connect the both account each other? Here you can see from AWS to Snowflake, we can give only one ARN is enough. But from Snowflake to AWS, we need to take two more IDs, which is storage AWS IAM user ARN, and another one is the external ID. So we need to take it these two ID from Snowflake, and we need to give into in our AWS, and we need to provide that those two IDs in our AWS account. We need to take these two IDs from Snowflake and we need to provide those two IDs in our AWS account. So this is how we have to go. This is how connecting the Snowflake account to AWS. Now we need to go for the fourth step. How can we have to do this? How can we have to do this? Now we can go for the fourth step. How to make the link between Snowflake and AWS account. So that is for the next step. First of all, you need to see what are all the properties under our integration object. For this, you need to give the describe and storage integration and storage integration name. So for this, we can see what are the properties under our integration object. I just copied this code and I just trying to execute in our Snowflake. Now you can see these are all the properties. So the first property is enabled. So which I already told by default, actually it is false. We have to provide the manually true, then only it is enabling. Storage provider is S3, which we are given to the S3 only here. He is a provider for the storage. Storage allowed location. This is a location which we are stored our source files. So storage blocked location. For this one, actually, if you don't want to get the data from this location, you can provide that location into here. You will never receive the data from that location. Storage AWS role ARN. This is what actually our AWS ARN ID. And here you can see there is a two property, storage AWS IAM user ARN, storage AWS external ID. You just copy this ID and go to our AWS account. Under the role, we have the trust relationship. You just click this trust relationship, go to the edit trust relationship. Here you can remove this existing ID. So this is what actually we have to copy it and just paste the Snowflake ID. And here you can see this is what 40, which we given while creation of the role. Instead of this 40, we need to provide the Snowflake external ID. You just go back to your Snowflake and copy the external ID from Snowflake and just providing into here. Just remove this and add the Snowflake ID. Now click the update policy. Now your AWS account and Snowflake account has been linked successfully. It's done. So now again we will go for our first step. Here you can see still now we are not created in our stage because for stage creation it's required for storage integration value. So the what is the storage integration value? Whatever the storage integration name which we are created, that name we need to provide it in here. So copy this staging code and go to in your Snowflake account. Just paste it in here and start run. Now your stage is also created. Now we are going to final step, which is loading the data from stage to our Snowflake table. So this is what actually I'm going to do now. So my file is from stage from AWS account to stage, the file has been loaded. Now we have to load the file from stage to Snowflake account. Before loading the data from stage to Snowflake table, we should check it is data present or not. So how can we have to check the data? So with using the list command. The list command is used to listing the stage, which means what are all the files are present in our staging environment. If you want, you can use the list command or else you can use the ls command. Both will work. So give to the list ls command, then you need to call the stage. So what is the stage which we are created? So the stage name is AWS STG. So you have to select in here. So then you can start running. But if I'm running like this, you will get the error only. Now you can see I just trying to run. Now we will see what is the error we will receive. So you can see this is a error. So what it mean by this error? Because whenever you have to calling the stage, you should add the at the rate symbol of before the stage name. Now only it shows how many files are present in the stage. So you can see there is a file has been loaded into our staging area. So now we can directly load the data from stage to Snowflake table. So before loading, we just check how our data looks like. You can start coding like this. Select $1, comma, $2, comma, $3 from stage name. Our stage name is at AWS STG. I just copied this query and my Snowflake account. I just put it into here. Now I'm trying to run. Now you can see this is how our data looks like. $1, $2 means it is position of columns. So which position column is there? So for my data file looks like you can see. So this is the number 1 position. So that is what it's the ID column is coming the first column. This is the number 2 position. So that is what the name column coming the second position. You can see in our source file there is a no third column. That is the reason it shows null in third column position. If you don't have any column, even though it will never throw the error, instead of error, it's just throwing the null values in a empty column for stage queries. Now we want to create a one more table because of holding this data in our Snowflake environment. So how can we have to create the table? I'm just going to create the table according to our source file looks like. So this is how I'm going to create the table. Create table, table name, ID column and name column. ID is a integer, name is a number. Sorry, name is a varchar. So for my table is also created successfully. After created the table, we can start doing the most important command is a copy command. So what is a copy command? Copy command is copying the data from stage and putting it in our Snowflake tables. Let's start do our copy command query. Copy into T1 table, which is the table we created just now. From where I kept my source file, from this stage only. If I run like this, it will definitely throwing the error. I'm just trying to show you. Now you can see this is what it's showing the error. Don't panic whenever you got the error. Whenever you got the error, then only you get a clear idea about our code. In future, we will know the path how to solve this error. Now come back our chapter. So for this error, we have to skip the header. Our source file is considering all of these things are data only, but we only know this is a not data. It is a column name. So that is what it throwing the error. ID is a column name. So we have ID is a integer, which is a number column. ID is the characters, which is it is involving in the number column. So that is what it's throwing the error. So how to solve this error? For this, we need to create a one of the object, which is called the file format object. File form is a communicator of the from us to Snowflake. So now we'll go to how to create the file format. So file format also one of the object. So we need to use for the create command. Create file format. File format name is a CSV. So in that file format also, there are few properties it has. First one is type is a CSV file. So you can see for my source file is a CSV file. So that is the reason I just using for the file as a CSV. The next one is field delimiter. Field delimiter is field is a column. So you can see how they are separated in the each column. They are used for the comma for separating the each column. So I'm going to using for the comma for each column. So my field is separated by comma. and record delimited. So how I am separated the each record using the enter button. So this is what actually they are calling as a /n, which means new line. The next one is skip header. I'm just providing the number 1, which means skip the first line. So this is the first line of the my data source file. So I don't want to consider this data. So that is what I'm just skipping this header. So just skipping this header. Then after the next line, you can start loading. So the file format is ready. I'm just going to start writing this file format in my, I'm just going to create this file format in my Snowflake account. So for my file format is successfully created. Now we will utilize this file format into our copy into command. So this is for my copy into command, right? So now I'm going to add one more property. It is a file format. So run this copy into command with using this file format. What is a file format which we have created? CSV. So I just use for the CSV file format here. So this file format will skipping the first line. Then I'm just going to start running this copy into command. Now you can see file has been loaded. So row has parsed, which is which means like a row has been readed. So how many rows got loaded? So 5 rows got loaded. So this is what actually for my copy into command is running. Now we can see directly our table got loaded or not. So now you can see all the data has been loaded into our Snowflake table as well. So I have done this session. So thank you so much for spending your time with me. If you have any queries or concern, you can reach us anytime. We are always happy to helping you. Thank you so much for watching this video. All the best.